Welcome in, Buff Nation, to another edition of Shoulder to Shoulder Colorado Live on the Voice of College Football Network. Just me today, solo hosting. Happy Friday. Appreciate you guys all being here. Manny had some, personal matters that he had to attend to, so it's going to be just me starting the show, and hopefully we can get him in a little bit later today, but we got a lot to talk about. So appreciate you guys all tapping in. Happy Friday. If you're here in the Denver area, it was a chilly one today. So if you're staying cozy inside and want to talk some Buffs football, let me know in the chat. Let me know that you're here, where you're watching from, if it's cold where you are, and then who you have to make the Super Bowl. Big games this weekend. So just let me know who you got. As always, make sure to follow us on X. Even though Manny's not here, I'm going to plug him anyway, of course. Manny_303, and then myself at Miles High Buffs. On Instagram, Manny is at 303_Manny. And then follow our X channel account that we created a couple of weeks ago. It's just at Colorado VOCFB, Voice of College Football. So, if you're not watching live, you can always catch today's show on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Believe, or wherever you get your podcasts. And then, as a friendly reminder, we do have memberships and super chats available now. So if you feel inclined to support the show, that we would always greatly appreciate it. So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump right in today. Again, solo show. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're watching. Appreciate you guys tapping in with me. We got a lot to cover today. It's been a while since we last had a live show. If you guys didn't see or didn't get a chance to see it, I did put out a couple of videos from Monday on Martin Luther King Day, just kind of breaking down some of the transfer stuff that has transpired so far, making sure that we do a deep dive and just, understanding who's coming in, who's going out. A lot of people have asked for this. They want to better understand, did the rooms get better? Did we get worse? So if you got a chance to watch that, let me know what you thought. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, it should be just on the normal videos for the page. So just go ahead and check those out and let me know your thoughts, because put a lot of effort into this. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about kind of what's been transpiring since the last time we spoke last week. I think it was back on like the 17th. 16th, maybe. A lot of topics. We'll talk about the guys we got brought in, some commits, some recent offers, and we'll go from there. We'll have some fun along in the process. Again, appreciate you guys being here. Let me know your main, the question of the day is who's going to make the Super Bowl. So let me know your thoughts. Let's go ahead and jump right in. First things first, I'm going to work chronologically, right? So I line these up to be from the last show to now. So if some of these things that you've heard of or you've already seen, I do apologize. I just want to make sure that I'm covering everything to the best of my ability and that there's no lapses here between what we cover on the show and what news is out there. First things first, let me go ahead and share my screen. This one came in on the 18th of the month. So roughly, I think that was, want to say that was probably about Friday-ish of last week. This came in courtesy of our good friend ScoBus22. If you don't follow them on Twitter, highly recommend it. Great Buffs account to follow. Deverick Woods, Texas State defensive lineman, visiting Colorado. I wanted to put this one first because there has been some talk about the defensive line room, as some people do know. We'll get into it later regarding Ezra Christensen, but a guy that came to visit Colorado on the 18th of the month, 6'3", 290, had a good amount of pass rush snaps and was in Boulder. So no official news on this so far, but just wanted to touch on it because it has been a topic of conversation for the defensive line room. So wanted to make sure everybody had seen that. Let's see, we got one there coming in. Appreciate you commenting. Replace Ezra, but we're still loaded in the defensive tackle room. It's a good, it's an interesting perspective to take. I would love to hear, some people as the show goes on, letting me know what you think about that, defensive line room and whether or not we're going to be okay or if we have some work we got to do. Let's see here. All right, next on the list we have Colorado. Let's go ahead and share my screen again. Being named as a top 20 most valuable program. So we've got this coming in courtesy of our friends at DNVR Buffs. So Colorado named a top 20 most valuable college football program, according to the Wall Street Journal. This is a really interesting one, primarily because, as you can see, a lot of the blue bloods are listed at the top there: Texas, Texas A&M, Ohio State, LSU, Michigan, and then sitting right down there at the bottom is lowly old Colorado, a program that we've heard a lot about. There was some discussions before Coach Prime came to Colorado about if there was going to be a lot of focus on developing the football program moving forward. Was it a huge revenue generator? Was it something that we were really going to be prioritizing? And then a mere 4 years later, it's a top 20 most valuable program in the country. So that's super cool. That's super great to see. We're not at $1 billion yet, but we're approaching it, which is so pretty cool. I'm hoping that a good season coming up here will help with increasing that valuation and getting us, maybe ahead of USC there, sitting right below $1 billion. Awesome. Moving on through. So interesting just being here by myself. Again, appreciate you guys all tapping in with me. This is a fun little one. This came in right after the national championship. Congrats to Indiana, by the way. We will get to that at a point here in the show. But speaking of Indiana and speaking of, I guess, the Mendoza lineage, Colorado is going to be facing a Mendoza in week 1, presuming that, he does get the starting job at Georgia Tech. We will be seeing if the Heisman lineage in the Mendoza family is going to go on to Alberto or if it's just his brother. So just an interesting one. I wanted to touch on it because that Georgia Tech game is going to have a lot of storylines in it. There's going to be a lot of former Buffs. Now we've got a Mendoza in play, and there was a lot of changes to the Georgia Tech staff. So we'll see how he ends up performing. Got a nice comment here. We can't throw like Haynes King. Probably accurate. I'm not even sure if he can run like Haynes King. Let me get that color changed up here. Let's see. It's showing me as a blue, but let me change that color. It's never fun. We don't ever want a blue color here. Nice. All right. So now that you guys comment, let me pin that one again. Bam. There's the Colorado gold. Awesome. We're getting things done here on this Friday. Appreciate you guys all tapping in, as always. Let's go. Moving on down the list. This is the Ralphie Report, if I didn't mention that before. Just kind of news, updates, things around the program, things around college football. Keeping you guys up to date with what's going on. Next on the list, we have somewhat of a small thing that not a small thing in nature, but I feel like it was overlooked by a majority of the fan base. Big deal in this individual's life, and something that we're gonna talk about a little bit more thoroughly as this goes on and as we learn more information about it. But let's get this pulled up. So as many of you are aware, our tight end room was a little underutilized last season. A little bit, because of the offense and some of the play design. But I also think that we didn't necessarily have all the pieces in there that we wanted to. And some people identified it pretty early on, asking where Savell Smalls had been and why he wasn't playing. And maybe there was speculation that he was not with the program anymore. But that was cleared up the other day. I think this was on the 20th. Savell Smalls comes out. He shares this personal note about something that had gone on with him and updating the fan base as essentially to where he had been. For those of you who didn't see it, essentially, I'm going to butcher the medical term of it. Quadriplegia, I think is the term. Essentially, Savell Smalls had found or identified that part of the way in through fall camp and early in the season, he had been experiencing kind of numbness in his hands and in his arms, in some of his limbs when he was making routine plays, right? So going through practice, going through warmups, stuff like that. And if any of you have ever hit your funny bone or woken up, laying on your leg reared and you kind of panic a little bit because you feel that numbness, imagine trying to be a football player while you're doing that. The part about this that I really want to acknowledge, and I want to give all the credit in the world to Savell, because this is so beyond terrifying to have to to come to terms with, to determine essentially what's going on, and make a decision about, your career and your life and what's most important for you. The long story short with this whole paragraph, if you guys didn't have a chance to read it, was up until about week 5, he didn't say anything. He was essentially trying to power through, trying to be there for his teammates, trying to be, a hard and tough buffalo that was going to fight through. And he didn't really want to say much because we've all been there. If you've ever played sports at any level of competitive, it could be up through high school. There's always that mantra, right? Like the guy behind you is just waiting in the wings for that opportunity. And so it's really sad, and it stinks when you hear that somebody felt like they had to hide something, an injury like this for so long. But eventually gets to a point, and he starts to really feel like he can't go on playing like this. Gets an MRI, and then realizes that he was born with spinal stenosis, I think is the correct pronunciation there. I'm terrible with pronunciations, but classified as a narrow spinal canal, and then essentially just determined that the options for him were not going to be viable in terms of risking paralysis for himself long term. All the credit in the world to Savell for trying to power through and trying to be there for his teammates and not make it about him. We wish him the absolute best. I'm so incredibly grateful. And one thing I want to mention with this, a lot of people don't realize this. Savell Smalls was a 5-star defensive edge coming out of high school. He was highly ranked. He went to Washington. It didn't work out for him at that stop. Ends up coming over to CU as a defensive edge. Again, 5-star guy, highly touted, highly recruited. Doesn't end up working with him in the defensive edge room, transitions over to the tight end room. And there's so many guys that would just not do that, would not play that game, would not be willing to, essentially take a chance on a new position that late into their career. Savell did it with smiles. He did it with incredible character, came in every day, worked his butt off. And eventually it just hit a point where he couldn't continue to fight through some of that fear and that pain, and props to him for eventually, doing the right thing, talking to the medical staff, and ultimately deciding that he needs to medically retire. So we wish the best to Savell and that next journey past football. Hopefully he can, do something like coaching or something of that nature. But I think it's just, props. And this is a great point. We as fans don't look at the things that happen off the field to players. A lot of times it's about, what are you producing for me in the moment? What's your return on investment? How much, like a guy gets injured and it's like, oh, well, we paid him X amount of money. But it's scary. It's scary. These are real life altering decisions and plays that are happening on a daily basis that we just need to be considerate of. So credit to Savell, credit to the medical staff for being able to catch that and provide him proper guidance to make sure that he was able to make a good decision for himself moving forward. Cool. Moving on through on a lighter note. Appreciate you guys sticking with me on that. Let's see here. We've got a couple of guys. I'm not going to share this one because I don't want to show you the whole video, but a couple of guys, if you guys have been watching Well Off Media, Reach the People, all the videos that have come out with winter workouts, a couple of guys have been showing out recently. So first one that I want to talk about is Emmanuel Manny Eziogu. Hope that is pronounced correctly. Running a 4.46 40. So defensive edge, outside linebacker type, Manny Eziogu running a 4.46 40. That is, for lack of a better term, insane. I don't know what a better word here would be. Like, I just think that, for someone that size and at that position to be able to move like that is a really good sign. There's obviously, it's not all about speed when it comes to football, but just, I think we identified it when he came in originally, and some of the guys that they brought in along the edge were just physical specimens. Geez. And so, as kind of alluded to here, we got a new linebackers coach. I'm not sure if he's going to play on the edge, if he's going to be more that outside linebacker, but that's really impressive for Manny to be able to run that speed at that size. I think he's like 6'4", 246. And then on the flip side too, so cornerback Justin Eaglin, brought in from JMU, runs a 4.4. And then Ernest Campbell runs, I think, a 4.3 if I heard it correctly. I didn't mark it down in my list here, but the speed on this team is going to be insane. So very, very exciting there. Going back a step, Cam, appreciate you tapping in with us on the Savell stuff. Bigger than football, absolutely. Remember that these are kids and that they are, kids trying to figure out what's best for them and make decisions that, bigger than football. Speaking of being bigger than football, this was another one that I think a lot of people didn't see. I actually retweeted it on my X account, but I wanted to make a note of this one because I think it means something, right? So this is Corey Yates, father of Ivan Yates, former Colorado cornerback. Played pretty well. I'm a fan of Ivan Yates. People have differing opinions on it, but one of the things that I think was important to note about this, so this follows up with him essentially talking about Coach Prime supporting Ivan on and off the field and having him be supportive of their family. And then a comment comes in and says, people will say he only cares about his sons and Travis, which has been an ongoing narrative about Coach Prime and just his preferences to specific people on the team. And so Ivan's dad comes back and says, he fully supported his pursuit of completing his MBA this spring, which he didn't have to do. And I think that's it's a good thing to note. There's been, stories of Charlie, essentially the walk-on running back, and being able to go to dental school after, and him wanting to support him there. I think little things like this are important to highlight because it shows the type of person that Coach Prime is and the way he cares about his players on and off the field. And he wants them to succeed. He wants them to thrive. I didn't highlight it, but I think Coach Box put out a highest team GPA, cumulative GPA, just over a 3.02, I think, if I remember correctly. Just stuff like that, where it's people think it's all about the flash and the chains and the money and all this stuff. In reality, it's about developing young men and creating a culture of guys who really want to get to that next level, but are prepared in the event that doesn't happen for them. So I just think that is something I wanted to highlight because if you don't follow Corey Yates is actually a great Twitter mind in terms of football. So go follow Corey Yates because it's always good to support Ivan and in his next step into wherever he ends up. But Corey's a good follow too. And Cam's spot on. Haters think differently, but apparently he keeps doing stuff like this. There's a lot of stuff that if you're not looking for it, you don't always see it. And he does his stuff that he cares about his players. He wants to support them, but it's not always like, I'm going to go out and go on ESPN and tell people that I'm supporting Ivan Yates' MBA. You have to find it in the nooks and crannies, and he's not always going to go out of his way to make a big show out of it, even if he is a very supportive coach for his players. And exactly, Coach Prime made it clear that some of his guys are not going to the NFL. A very large portion of them are not going to the NFL. Even the highest, most productive players on the team, most of them will not make it to the NFL. And so just being able to support those guys past that stage of their life is so incredibly important, and making sure that they have that next runway, that next, the off ramp, I guess, into the next stage of life. Awesome. Moving on down. Speaking of Coach Prime, this one, not crazy thing that I feel a need to kind of share, but I just thought it was awesome. Look at the smiles on this guy. Tell me that this is not, a guy that is happy and healthy and just excited to be back in, Boulder, right? I just think that I wanted to share this two things because one shows that, Julian is the guy and that they are emphasizing him on the media team to make sure that people know he might have actually gotten some new tattoos too. I don't remember him having a sleeve on his leg. Maybe that's me. But yeah, I just wanted to show it because Coach, he seems so happy and he seems, I think there was such an undervalued portion of the offseason last year where it's got to be so weird being sick, fighting for your life, and then coming in and trying to get to know all these players that you had no say, or not all of them. He obviously had some say in a majority of last year's team, but all these new guys that you had really no say or not much say in bringing into your program. And you now have to play catch up to figure out who they are, what their motivations are, and where they fit into your team. And this is the smile of a guy who knows that he had his hands on every decision that happened this offseason and that he feels confident in the direction that the program is heading. So I wanted to show that because I just love seeing him being revitalized and rejuvenated like that. It's such a great look for the program and just for Coach Prime overall. All righty. Take a quick step to look at the Cam said again, as we mentioned, Coach Prime literally helped Charlie O get into dental school. And he, I don't know what, relationships Coach Prime has in the dental field. He does have great teeth, of course. But I don't know what relationships he has in the dental space. All righty, moving on down halfway through the Ralphie report. How we feeling? Happy Friday. Appreciate you guys again for being here. Just me. If you joined late, Manny's got some things going on outside of the show. And so we're just running with me today, and we're hoping that he's able to join in just a bit here. All right. This is a little bit more directly in relation to the program. Let's talk about it. 2026 Colorado football schedule released earlier this week, I think a couple of days ago. First off, love the graphic. The graphics team is amazing. As a graphics guy, as you guys know, this is exceptional. Very well done. A couple of things to note here. You probably heard it from a couple of different people. We're going to be seeing some former Buffs. If you didn't see my tweet earlier in the week, it's Savion Riley, Tajah McCoy, and then Tafiq Thomas are all going to be in Georgia Tech when we go to face them in week 1. 3 out of the first 4 games are on the road, which you don't love. You got Weber State, a little bit of a layup game. You don't love starting your first 3 in your non-conference against, I don't know if I would say juggernaut Georgia Tech. Will be interesting to see how they come back after losing Haynes King. You get a warm-up game against Weber State, and then you've got Northwestern, who's now got Chip Kelly and, is putting actually a lot into their football program. If you haven't seen what Northwestern is doing, they are putting a lot of money into football, and they really want to make it a priority for them. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a battle, just being completely honest and transparent with you. Then we head to Baylor. We're going to be seeing former Buff Draylon Miller there, as well as DJ Lagway, and also former Buff Yakiri Walker. We'll get to that later on too. But Yakiri Walker and Draylon Miller are going to be in Waco, Texas, when the Buffs go to Baylor. So that's going to be an interesting one. So 3 out of your 4 first games start off the season are away and against, I would argue, formidable teams. So we'll see how that unfolds for them in that early stretch of the season. Then you got Texas Tech coming to town. That's obviously a tough matchup. Texas Tech projects to be a highly formidable team on both sides of the ball. They have spent a lot of money, as they usually do, and they're coming to Boulder. So our second home game will be against the Red Raiders, and we'll see how that goes. Utah, that's family weekend. They're going to always be competitive. Obviously, they lose Kyle Whittingham and a good majority of their roster, but they do get, I think, Devin Dampier is coming back. And so that's always going to be a battle. We'll see how that unfolds for the Bus, but good, having back-to-back home games. That's nice. And a couple of weeks, I think there's a bye week sprinkled in there as well. Then we got going to Stillwater, Oklahoma to see the Mean Green of Oklahoma. If you guys don't know, they brought in a lot of transfers from North Texas. Drew Messmaker is a 5-star portal quarterback. So we'll see if that, coming into Oklahoma State is going to be at that same level that they were at before, or if they'll take a step back. I'm not entirely sure. I'm confident their head coach is a football mind for sure. And Oklahoma State, it's a good fan base. I think they were the ones who actually started the whole like shirts off, the guys with the shirts off thing. I'm pretty sure they started that last season. So they'll show up in droves and they'll be there to pack out the stadium. So that'll be a tough environment. Against Kansas State in Boulder, Kansas State is moving on from their, head coach, a long era, but they, keep it in-house. I can't remember the name of the guy that they brought in or that they elevated, but you're getting another year of Avery Johnson, and Dylan Edwards is now off to in-state rival. So we'll see, how Kansas State performs. But coming to town, I feel good about that one. And then going to see former Buff legend Omarion Miller in Tempe, Arizona. Last time we were there, we had the walk-off with Motto, so that's a cool. And that was the infamous Shador game with the fan base. They're going to be excited for that one. There's going to be a lot of emotions in that one too. So we'll see how that goes in the back half of the season. Houston coming to town. Houston had a great bounce back season last year. They've got a really good QB room, bringing in a 5-star from last cycle as well. That's homecoming. And then at Cincinnati got a little bit gutted, losing Baron Morton and some other pieces on both sides of the ball. And then we finish it out going to see TJ Branch. Actually not going to see, having TJ Branch come back to Boulder when UCF comes to town. So let me know in the comments your guys' record predictions here. I feel good about bits and parts of the schedule. I think that, early on, you're going to get a really, really good and clear signal as to where this direction is heading. Like last season, you could argue by the Wyoming game, if you really read between the lines, that you kind of had a sense as to like where this team was going. There was a little bit of disruption there and the QB changes and stuff like that. So I think by your non-conference slate, heading to Baylor, you hope to be 2-1. You hope to be 3-0. 1-2, you're a little bit shaky. That Weber State game is a get right game, as I like to call it. Let's see. We got first prediction. We got 7-5, 6-6. I think coming from 3-9, if you can get back to a bowl game, that's a good place to be. Anything above that, I think you're playing with house money a little bit, and you're kind of rebuilding the Buffs brand. You're rebuilding the culture. And you'll have Coach Prime around to continue to build on that as the years go. Okay, awesome. Moving on through here. What do we got next? Ooh, this is the one. This is the big one everybody wants to talk about. If you guys are here, you've probably been waiting on me to talk about this. And I've gotten a couple of people who have been in my mentions recently. I've been waiting for it on the show. But defensive lineman Ezra Christensen, first team All-Conference USA at New Mexico State, committed to Colorado on June 9th, is not joining the Buffs. If you guys didn't get a chance, again, I love to pitch this because I put a lot of effort into it, but go watch my defensive transfers comparison video, because this will tell you everything you need to know about Ezra Christensen. The grades that he produced last season at New Mexico State are off the charts. Like, he graded exceptionally well, both in pass rush and run defense, better than anybody else the Buffs got on that side of the ball. Was a top, I think, 10 transfer target in general in the portal from this past season. Would need to get a waiver. I've talked to a couple of people on this. It does not seem likely. I've heard that they are moving forward under the presumption that he will not be able to get that waiver. And I gotta bite my tongue on this, but here's my thing. I saw a tweet today about a guy who, I think he's from Miami, Mohamed Toure, if I got that one right, who's on his 8th year of eligibility. What are we doing here? Can somebody explain that to me? A guy like Ezra Christensen, there's a whole nuance there about like how he's even able to be in the portal. Like, how does nobody verify that before he's in the portal and talking to teams and negotiating NIL? And like, how, like, I'm not putting it on CU by any means. I'm just more like it feels like the NCAA, to process the paperwork, has to be like, hey, you can't even enter the portal before we confirm that you have eligibility. Like that seems like step 0. Am I wrong? Like, it just feels like the bare minimum to verify that a guy has eligibility before you enter his name into the portal. That's my stance on it. I said on Twitter, this is a big loss. And I stand by that. I think Ezra Christensen, he's kind of that hybrid. He's not a nose tackle. He's not a super big body in the middle, but he's got that tween outside, defensive edge, 3 tech. Like, there's a little bit of a balance and shiftiness there along the defensive line that I think you were going to get a lot of production out of. Him and Santana Hopper, you plug one of the big guys in the middle. Like, there was a lot there that you could create a formidable front with. And to lose a guy like this so late into the season, or not into the season, into the portal season is what I'm trying to say. It hurts. Like, it's kind of, I'm not making a comparison here. It's kind of like the Jordan Seaton thing where it's like, okay, why couldn't we have figured this out earlier? Why are we now scrambling to figure out what we want to do at defensive line or on the defensive line at defensive tackle? And so that's just the only thing that I have to say about it. It's really unfortunate. I don't think he's going to get the waiver. There's a couple of targets that I think the Buffs could look at. Let me grab that. Hold on. One guy in particular, I have it bookmarked here, saved in my bookmarks. It's from Colorado. I'm not going to say the name. Came in from Cal because I don't want to say it. Aiden. I'm going to say it, even though I said I wasn't going to say it. Aiden Kianiana? Not sure. But played nose tackle for Cal. Let me share my screen. This came in, I think it's his mom who posted it. From Colorado, played nose tackle, 55 total tackles, 1.5 sacks, had 2.5 the year prior, 36 total tackles, 6'3", 320. So a lot of the guys out there that have been talking about CU, needs a true nose tackle. We need a 300-pound defensive lineman. This is a guy that I personally would go after. I'm not on the staff. I don't make these decisions. He's still in the portal from what I can understand. A couple people have tagged him. But I think that's a guy. And I think if he's from Colorado, why not go give him a shot? That's not reporting. That's just as I've seen it and as I like to call it. Cool. We have a 375-pound. Yeah, we're going to get to it. 375 is big. Don't forget that 375 is big. If being 375 made you a good nose tackle, everybody would be 375. There is a balance in weight between what can allow you to be productive and what allows you to be big. I'm trying to keep up with the comments again. Sorry for if I'm missing anyone's here. I think CU doesn't know what they want to do on the defensive line. I think they know what they want to do. If you kind of have the rug ripped out from under you, then you kind of have to pivot, right? Like it is a game of you have a direction, you go that direction, you commit to that direction. The NCAA rips the rug out from under you, and now you got to pivot. And so it's like, yeah, maybe there isn't a guy that fits that scheme or that mold or that specific position within the depth chart that you're going to be able to find anymore. So maybe you do tweak it, right? Like if you lose one of your linebackers, you might want to shift your defensive scheme to be more DB heavy. Like it's something where it's like they're going to have to shift it. They're going to figure it out through spring ball. But specifically on the defensive line, these are all going to be new guys. So they're going to have to figure it out regardless as to who's going to be their starters, who's their go-to guys, and who's going to be more rotational. On that note, let's see. This is a good one from Northside. Prime said he wants a short, stocky defensive lineman, whatever that means. That means he wants Chidozie Nwankwo. I'm just going to tell you that right now. That means he wants another Chidozie Nwankwo. That's me. He wants somebody that is 5'11", has a wrestling background, over 300 pounds, and just eats blocks. That's what he wants. And that's what I want. Again, I don't think Ezra was going to be that block eater, nose tackle, big guy. This is more of a defensive edge-ish, more of a 3-tech, but I think that you still want somebody who can, if they are going to run a 3-4, that can anchor that middle, allow some guys on the outside to eat on the pass rush, and then bring in some guys from the outside. But I think from this point forward, I don't think they're done. I don't think you could be done. Let me see. I had this tweet from Brian saved. It's not going to load on me, so I'm not going to share it. Essentially, it was just breaking down like the defensive line room under Coach Prime. I think it was like they had, 4 guys that were rotation. They had 5 guys, or in the first year, they had 5 guys that were in rotation. The second year, 6 guys. It's not loading for me, so I'm just going to skip through it. But let's move on to the next topic. Again, moving in chronological order here. So this is all, we're getting up to the 22nd, which was yesterday. I do my best to kind of bookmark and track these things as they go. And why on earth is my Is anybody else having problems with X, or is it just me? Like, is it just my internet? I'm like, nothing is loading for me. Can somebody verify in the chat? Are you also having problems with X, or is it just me? Because nothing is loading for me on X at the moment. So I can't really share my screen because there's not a whole lot going on. But I guess I'll just run through it anyway. So Colorado had a record revenue year. This was shared by Yahoo. I think it was like somewhere in the $160 million range. There was a lot of discussions when that whole thing came out about us being in a deficit. I mean, we had a record revenue year. So you do have to play, like any good entrepreneur, any good business person will say you have to spend money to make money. And if we were just bringing in revenue and not spending it to improve the coaching staff and bring in new players, and you hope that there's improvements to the stadium coming. Like, if you're not going to spend the money, it becomes just a waste of revenue. They're not going to do it to take profit. So that's really cool. Record revenue year. Hopefully next year breaks it again. And we'll see where we end up by 2027. Gosh, 2026 already. It's crazy. Let me catch up on some comments here. Yeah, that's how I feel. The defensive scheme going to be a 3-4-5. Yeah, I mean, that's what a couple people have said. I think, based on it, like, I think that's likely based on essentially how gashed we got in the run game last year. A little bit more focused on the linebackers. We did bring in some high-end, productive linebackers as well. We got another one saying 3-4, and then we got a 3-3-5. Could be a 3-3-5. Could be a 3-4. I will yet to see. It's really going to depend. There was a comment. Is it weird that Sapp wasn't in the team meeting room? I haven't verified this. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a newsbreaker and tell you that Warren Sapp is still on the roster or not on the roster. I know he was at the Miami game. He was at the national championship. We all saw the video of him riding a bike and the accusations that were made, and I can't verify anything. I'm also not saying that anything isn't true. I don't even know if he's on the staff to begin with. I thought it was weird. I thought it was weird when he was at the pageant show right after the entire defensive line room had just hit the portal, and he was tweeting about being being a host on a pageant show. I don't know if Sapp is there. I know Pecco is there, and Pecco seems to be having a really good relationship with a lot of the recruits. I'll double check. Dylan Manuel, when we talked to him, he mostly talked about his relationship with Coach Pecco and Coach Prime. I'm not sure if he mentioned Sapp, but that would be a good. If Dylan Manuel talked about talking to Coach Sapp, then that's going to be your differentiator, because he was in the building a couple weeks ago. If that's the case, we'll double check on that. Nobody verified. Is X good? Are we good on Twitter? Because nothing is loading for me. Sapp is just a defensive line analyst. He was a run game coordinator, or the defensive run game coordinator, if I remember correctly. He started out as a defensive analyst, but then he had actually had a definitive title along the defensive line. Twitter's broken again. All right, cool. Thank you. I'm like, is this just me? Like, is it? I can't live stream and go on X at the same time. All right, cool. Well, that takes away a lot of the concern there. We'll just talk through it as we go. But Sapp is in the office as of last week. Yeah. See, I didn't think there was a formal announcement that had been made or anything formal about it. They might have moved him around, kept him in the building. He might be back to an analyst role. I have no idea. But I know that Pecco is leading that room and has the relationships with the guys that he's bringing in. CU has a new cornerbacks coach. It looks like, yeah, again, this is really tough going live right as the show goes on. We have a new cornerbacks coach. If you haven't already, go look at my Twitter. I retweeted it again at Miles Highbuff. I can't even say on Twitter because I can't even get to Twitter. But yeah, let Pecco and Hilo lead that room. That's what I agree with. I think those are two guys that have shown that they've got a good understanding of the edge room, as well as the true defensive tackles, not only recruiting, but also coaching and getting those guys into a good headspace, ready to go. Sapp was at coaching CU when they led the Big 12 in sacks. He's good. I don't agree with that, actually. I'm pretty sure that was Coach Dancy, and that was Coach with the other coach. It was Coach Dancy. The two that went to one that went to Miami and one that went to Mississippi State. So Coach Dancy and Coach, I'm blanking on it right now. D-Lou, that's what it is. Thank you. Yeah, Coach D-Lou and Coach Dancy were the ones that were running when they led the Big 12 in sacks. So I'm not going to give that credit to Sapter. I think he was an analyst at that time. He definitely wasn't coaching the room. Okay. Moving on down, CU also has a new associate director of player personnel who, wow, it's really tough when I give myself a link and then I don't actually write down the name. So we'll skip those two. On the ESPN top 100 players of 2025, I don't know if you guys saw this, a list put out by ESPN, top 100 players from last season. No players from last season on the Buffs made it, but two new players that are joining the Buffs made it. Danny Scudero is ranked on there as number 61, Bletikov semifinalist, had a great season at San Jose State, so no surprise there. And then Gideon ESPN Lampron came in at number 80, and not just because it was ESPN's list, because he's a damn good ball player. So two guys that coming in that made that top 100 players list. Hopefully they end up being higher on the list come this time next year. I'm a little surprised. There's a couple of guys that I think could have made it. Maybe a Santana Hopper, maybe again, I don't know if you count Ezra Christensen, but I think he could have been on there. Maybe a DeAndre Moore. I mean, if you guys think let me throw it out to you. If there was another guy out of those two who was to make the top 100 from this current team right now, who would it be? And if there was a guy from last year's team to make the top 100, who would it have been? I have my vote, but all right, moving on down. Got a lot of arguments about Coach Sapp and his relationship with the defensive line room. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on Coach Sapp. We'll see. Time will tell. Just watch the videos. Watch Well Off Media. As we know at this point, I don't think you're going to get a formal announcement about a lot of that major coaching staff changes. But just watch the videos. You'll see who's there, who's not there. And sometimes they have responses. These are just winter workouts. So it's I think by spring ball, we'll have a definitive answer. Winter workouts, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. Colorado had 6 players on the PFF top 100 transfer rankings. And none of that's going to load because X is down. Cool. Moving on. We're going to skip all the rest of these because I can't get into it on X. We're going to run through some recent offers. A lot of offers. For those of you who have paid attention, a lot of offers have gone out to high school kids recently. Mostly on the offensive side of the ball. A couple of defensive transfer or high school guys ranked in there as well. First on the list, I'm going to work from most recent, most closest to us now to the latest. First one being 2027 4-star wide receiver Matthew Gregory out of Pottstown, Pennsylvania. So East Coast kid, 6'1", 170, 4-star wide receiver. Behind him, 2027 3-star wide receiver Keon. I do apologize. Keon Standifer out of Athens, Georgia, 5'9", 170. And keep a note on that. So 5'9", 170 for receivers. A lot of people have talked about the receiver room and who we brought in the portal, and they're being a little bit undersized, a little bit smaller, a little bit shiftier. Just keep an eye on the sizes and the actual measurables of the guys that I refer to in this because there seems to be a trend. 2027 3-star wide receiver Rob Larson out of Folsom, California, 6'2", 185. And then 2027 3-star wide receiver Jackson Coleman, Littleton, Colorado kid. I think coached by Coach Sanford. So former interim coach Mike Sanford. I'm pretty sure that's the guy. 6'3", 195. And then 2 other guys in the 2027 class. 2027 unranked QB Winter Smith with a Y, Wynter, out of San Antonio, Texas, 6'2", 200. And then 2027 unranked linebacker, so the first defensive one of this grouping that we're going to read here, Isaac McNeil out of Mobile, Alabama, 6'2", 205. So that's 6 offers in the 2027 class that have gone out in the past week. So interesting to see. A lot on the offensive side of the ball. It seems like Coach Marion, we've talked about it. He is a recruiter by heart. He's a recruiter by nature. He's putting an emphasis on some wide receivers that he's calling his shots on, some 3-star guys, some unranked guys, and then an unranked quarterback in there as well. Before we move on to 2028, we need the kid Matt is developing in Colorado. I think that's Jackson Roper, R-O-P-E-R, I think. Is that the correct one? There's a couple of kids in Colorado. I personally, my stance on it is I agree. I think that we need to be prioritizing Colorado kids. I think that Coach Marion knows that. I've talked to Matt about this, and he agrees that he feels that the priority in the shift is going to be focused to put more of an emphasis on Colorado kids moving forward. He does have, for all of the stuff that's said about Matt McChesney and his temper and all the things, I'm not going to get into that. He develops good players. He does. He has gotten guys really good offers, and he has Dan Lanning in his building. Like, he's not a guy who doesn't know what he's talking about. He definitely recruits good, big offensive linemen in the state of Colorado, and he wants to keep them here if he can. But I digress. That's a whole side story. Moving on through 2028. So we got 3 offers that came in the class of 2028 over the last week or so. 4-star wide receiver Demarion Mays out of Fort Worth, Texas, 6'2", 180. 2028 5-star defensive edge Jackson Vaughn out of Oradell, New Jersey, 6'3", 220. And then 2028 3-star QB, apologies in advance, Koa Maluulu. Terrible, and I'm so sorry about that in advance. I tried to apologize. Out of Bellflower, California, 6'2", 180. So 3 guys in the 2028 class, which is interesting. We got 6 that were offered in 2027, 3 in 2028, and then we've got 7 coming up, actually 6 coming up here in 2029 as well. But I mean, it's interesting. You get a 4-star wide receiver in there, you get a 5-star defensive edge, and then a 3-star quarterback, 6'2", 180. So they're kind of, again, a lot of prioritization on the offensive side of the ball. Coach Marion, Coach Schad too. A lot of the guys, I would totally show you these if X wasn't down. But Coach Schad is recruiting his butt off too. Getting a lot of offers there, getting a lot of tags in these offer posts as well. Wide receivers assigned to the wide receiver room, if you don't know who that is. 2029, a lot of interesting, I don't know if this is just 2029 specifically, where there's just not a whole lot of guys that are ranked yet, but we'll start from the top and work our way down. So 2029, unranked QB, Jaymon Reed, Jeymon Reed out of Altus, Oklahoma, 6'4", 185. 2029 unranked athlete DJ Ferguson out of San Diego, California, 6'1", 180. 2029 unranked athlete Mekhi Buchanan out of Victorville, California, 6 foot, 165. 2029 wide receiver Stephen Harper Jr. out of Little Elm, Texas, 6'2", 160. 2029 unranked wide receiver Zach Williams out of Dallas, Texas, 5'8", 160. And then a 2030 kid, which this is like the most jarring thing in the world for me, is seeing like a 2030 recruit. Like, I don't know. That just surprises the heck out of me. Tegan People. Great name. I love that. Tegan People. Out of California, 6'3", 180. Some of these guys are athletes. They're hybrid wide receiver running backs. A couple of them are wide receiver DBs. You look through the list here, right? So Pennsylvania, Georgia, California, Colorado, Texas, Alabama, Texas again, New Jersey, California, Oklahoma, California, Texas, California. So you can see they're trying to develop a little bit of a pipeline between California and Texas. They've got some of those other big states in there, the Alabamas and the Georgias of the world. And then they toss in the occasional PA and New Jersey kid. So I like the strategy. We'll see how these go. But the big thing being, a lot of these offers are going out early, and they're going out to guys that they're calling their shots on. So we'll see how many of these guys end up being buffs or high priority target for the buffs. We got this one, finally figuring out our ratio of high school offers. I see. Yeah, I mean, Manny had a whole part of our Ralphie report where he essentially wanted to talk about the 40-40-20 breakdown that Coach Brian had talked about. I think Coach Marion sees a lot of value in recruiting high school kids. I think he just loves recruiting in general and building relationships. We wouldn't have DeAndre Moore if he hadn't built that relationship early on. There's talk about in-home visits and flying and who's going to see who and where and when and all that stuff. This is a new recruiting staff. This is a new offensive staff. It'll be interesting to see how they end up prioritizing that and how they end up moving forward with high school versus portal. I mean, you had to do it with the portal this season because, again, you lost a lot of players just due to the poor season that you had. But it'd be really interesting to see if they continue to really go after high school kids with Coach Marion pushing that on the offensive side of the ball versus if they're going to lean heavily on the transfer portal here again. Has there ever been, I'm not going to say that word, a Polynesian QB? Yes, there has. There absolutely has. Are you talking about at CU or just in general or being recruited? Definitely has. Plenty of times. Okay, moving down on the offers list. So that's it on the offers. I put on here, I want to acknowledge it. Congrats to Indiana for winning the college football playoff. I think that was great. I think that's awesome. Props to them. Props to Khalil Benson. Had some plays in that game. I won't get into it, but props to him. Congrats. It's awesome. I think that's also cool. Just, being able to leave a program, go try somewhere else, realize it's not for you, and then go back and get an opportunity to go play at a high level. Like, I think that's so many times, and we'll talk about it too, with just the transfer portal and kind of the nebulous. Tua's a good one as an example. I wasn't 100% confident in that, but it's a really good example for the Polynesian QBs. A lot of times it's like guys, they leave their schools, they burn the bridge, and then they're gone and they can never come back. It's nice to see Khalil Benson get an opportunity to go back, repair those relationships, get a chance under Kurt Cignetti to play a high level, play in some high level games and make an impact on that roster in one capacity or another. Cool. I saw this again. It's so unfortunate I can't screen share here. Oh, cool. I'm back. Nice. X is back. This is a joke, but I do think it's kind of interesting and funny, is the idea that Mark Cuban would pay Fernando Mendoza the equivalent of what he would make as a first-round pick to stay at Indiana. It's obviously a joke. This is not real. But it is kind of a funny, like, if you are Mark Cuban and you have a chance to get back-to-back wins and like the equivalent is you could just pay him what his first round salary would be. Is it worth it to you? Who knows? Just wanted to acknowledge it. I thought that was funny. All right. Cool. Couple of portal target updates. A lot of people have asked about this. I saw one earlier. I did not start. Somebody had asked about Blake Purchase. Let's go ahead and share this. So portal target updates. These are main ones that I wanted to just acknowledge because we talked about it last time on the show, and they're important to note. Defensive end Andrew Zock ends up in Toledo, does not end up coming to Colorado. It was between us and Toledo. Ultimately, relationships went out in that one. He had a former coach that was at Toledo. Good for him. Happy for him. Relationships matter. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's not always about the big money and the stars. Sometimes it's about where you are and who's around you. Smith Snowden ends up at Michigan. Buffs lose that one. I heard that was very back and forth, very close, tight battle. Wasn't just about money also as well. Had the relationships at Michigan and ends up going there with Coach Whittingham. Offensive tackle Alex Payne ends up at Virginia. That he came in from USC, had been recruited by some staff at Colorado originally. I can't remember exactly who, but he had been tied to the Buffs a little bit in the transfer portal. Linebacker Blake Purchase, a Colorado kid, ends up at Ole Miss. Came from Oregon, went to Ole Miss. That's all I'm going to say on that. I mean, like they took their shot. They wanted him. He ended up at Ole Miss. That's all I'm going to really say. You could probably connect the dots there. And then offensive lineman Rayson Delgatti, I think that's correct, ends up at Alabama. He was a Cal Poly center. There was a guy, he was one of those guys that was really highly ranked, and CU wanted him, and ultimately he gets a better offer to go to Alabama. So that is the catch up on some of the portal target updates. Next one on the list, we've got, just want to give you guys some more fun updates here. Former Buffs find new homes. This is an interesting one. I kind of tracked a couple of these down over the weekend. As we talked about, safety TJ Branch is heading to UCF. We'll see him on the back half of the schedule, last game of the year. Safety Carter Stoutmeyer is staying in the SEC, going to Arkansas. John Slaughter is heading to Purdue. Defensive end Nikhil Webb Walker is heading to Northern Arizona, which might be the best fit that I've seen so far. I really hope that he goes there and dominates. I think that's a good opportunity for him to, really coming back from his stint with cancer to be able to get a lot of reps, a lot of production, some good playing time at a lower level. So best of luck to Nikhil Walker. One of these days, I have his jersey, not his jersey, his like t-shirt jersey. I bought it around that time. So I'll wear it on the show sometime to show him some love. He's a great guy. Defensive end, Sam Okunlola. I thought he was going, okay. So I want to acknowledge this quickly, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. I thought he was going to Miami at first. That was like what I had heard from the very beginning. That doesn't end up happening. Then he visits Mizzou. So then I had actually put it in as if you watch the defensive, me plugging my own video again, go watch the defensive portal comparison video, because I said in it that he was going to Mizzou because I thought I saw that he was going to Mizzou. Turns out he's going to Virginia Tech. Good for him. Happy for him. Best of luck. Coach Franklin, he's going to develop him. He's going to have a great time in the ACC. I digress. I just thought he was going to Mizzou. I thought that was funny. Cam Michael is heading to Georgia Southern. Had picked up a couple of good offers. I think he feels that he's going to get utilized there correctly. He's going to get an opportunity to get some good playing time. I imagine he'll be one or the other, meaning either a wide receiver or a running back. I lean wide receiver personally. I think he's got talent there, but who knows? Who knows? We'll see. I'll keep up with it, and obviously give you guys a thread later on as the season progresses, just about how these guys are doing and what their usage looks like at their new schools. Mantrez Walker ends up at UAB. I think that's a really good fit for him. I mentioned it a little bit too in that video. Had an offer from Texas Tech, so could have joined Cash Cleveland over in Texas Tech, and everybody knows that the Texas Tech money, the offers from Texas Tech probably are the highest offers you're going to get financially. He ends up going to UAB. He joined Sean Myers at UAB. I'm not sure if they had a good relationship or not, but it's an opportunity for him to develop and really get some good reps at the G5 level, and then ultimately he can probably make a bounce back into the P4 once he gets a little bit more proven production. Wide receiver cornerback Isaiah Harge is joining quarterback Ryan Staub at Tennessee. I wanted to highlight this, and I'm so glad that X is back, because this is actually one of the things I wanted to share. So I don't want to take any credit for this, but it came up in my feed like really early on. This guy, Dylan Holt, great guy, I've talked to him a little bit, tweets out, it really seems like Colorado fans love Ryan Staub. And immediately I just like out of joy, and like I love Ryan Staub, most people do. I just was like, we do. Matter of the fact. And then somehow that caught on, because this is just a string of just like the nicest things said about Ryan Staub. And it's awesome. This is what the Colorado fan base and the Colorado community should be doing. I said it on the very first show that I joined, but this is being good buffs in the community. This is showing a guy love that deserves it. And there was one of the things, this is the one I wanted to highlight, is like, they were like, we've never been this nice about a player when they leave us. And I just think that we should continue to be this way. People have opinions about the Buffs, and they have opinions about the Buffs fans and kind of how we act and what we're about and stuff. But this is who we should be. We should be supporting guys as they leave and showing love and just creating like a better college football community. I think it's so cool. And then in that process too, a nice little comment here. I wish Ryan to ball out and put Tennessee in a bowl game. Here's the thing. To be fair, I don't know if he's going to be, I heard there's some eligibility concern, not eligibility for Ryan, but that they're trying to get their quarterback from last year back on another year as well. Then there's George McIntyre, Coach McIntyre's son, if I remember correctly. He's going to be competing in that room. So Ryan's going to have his work. I didn't expect him to go to the SEC. I didn't expect him. I thought he was leaving because he wanted to like get a surefire starting job and just like ball out, But if that's where he wants to go and he wants to compete at a high level, good for him. He's a great kid. He's going to end up doing well wherever he goes. All right. I want to see if there's anything that I missed here. And the sharing my screen, I don't think so. We can kind of move on down. Another segment I wanted to share here. This is Buffs Still Searching. So I wanted to highlight this because people have asked me about it, and people were curious about it, like the nebulous portal, right? Like what happens if you don't end up committing anywhere? These are the Buffs that I have done every piece of research that I can find to figure out if they have landed somewhere. They entered the portal, and I cannot find it anywhere as to whether or not they have landed on a specific school. Cooper Lovelace, Tyrekus Davis, Kyle Carpenter, Walker Anderson, Reggie Hughes. Again, I talked about this in the other video. I saw that, you guys can back me up on this. I saw Reggie Hughes was entering the draft. He pinned it on his X profile that he was entering the draft. And then like a week later, he announced he was entering the portal. And I mean this because if you go on his 247 page, it lists him as entering the portal. But if you go on his X in his Twitter, there's no indication of it. He completely looks like he walked it back. He doesn't want to enter the portal, but like 247 puts it in there if they enter the portal, like if they put their papers in. So I don't know. Reggie Hughes could be in the portal. He could be going to the draft. We'll see. But I put him on here because it technically shows that he's in there and he never committed anywhere. Braden Keith, Tavian Coleman, Noah King, and Terrence Love. Some of these guys have been more active on X than others. Like I can't find anything from Noah King at the moment. I can't find anything about Braden Keith or Tavian Coleman. Terrence Love has been actively posting on X, like in the CU facilities and like at CU looking for a new home. And then Walker Anderson got an offer to South Dakota. So that's the only other real thing I've seen. I'm hoping these guys end up somewhere. You don't want them to get stuck in the portal. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep a track on it as I always do. And we'll see how they end up. These players want to go P4. They don't want to go down a level. And that's the tough reality. That's the tough reality in this is the longer you wait. And this is the thing that Coach Prime always said, like, you better have a plan. You don't just like jump in the portal being like, I got practice film and, you know, I'm going to like be picked up by another P4 team to develop me. Like if you don't have something, Simeon Price is on there too. Sorry. I see Donovan. He hasn't landed anywhere from what I can tell. I don't know the story behind that one either. I am assuming he found out about Richard Young coming in and ultimately decided that he just wanted a chance to play. But I don't think he's ended up anywhere. My point on this being some of these guys, like there is a balance too that I think people need to remember where this is not confirmed. This is purely speculation. Schools have power in this too. Like it's not always like a guy being like, I want a better opportunity and I, need to go find a place that's going to value my talent. Sometimes it's like, hey man, we just may not see a role for you. Like we may not think that you are going to be developed or you're worth the price that we paid you last season. Like, so sometimes there's guys that it's like, hey, this is a mutual parting of ways. Like we think that you should go find an opportunity as opposed to them being like, I need an opportunity. That's exactly what Demystically says here, right? I'm curious about the guys who thought they left on their own, but were told to leave, right? Like I don't necessarily, you can't be like, hey, I'm going to, kick you out here unless you violate some sort of rules or responsibilities. But like, sometimes it's like, hey, writing's on the wall. Like, you might want to go find something, like you might want to, it's kind of like when you get like on a performance incentive plan at work, like a PIP as they refer to, like sometimes it's like, yeah, you're not fired yet, but like you might want to go find a new job, that type of thing. So, you can reduce their NIL, deny the scholarship renewal. Yeah. Like there are things that the schools aren't powerless in this where it's just like, shoot, we're losing all our players. Like they do have an ability to say like, we want to reevaluate our room and we want to determine who's going to be a right fit for us moving forward. All right. Let me check in. Okay, cool. Last little graphic thing. How do you guys like the graphics? I've been, putting in a little bit of work with the graphics here. We've got fun segment. This is former Buffs on the move. So we talked about it a little bit before. Yakiri Walker's heading to Baylor. This is from like the year prior. So the guys that were on the bus or 2 years prior, like if they were on the bus from 2 seasons ago, just not last year's team, not in the portal itself. These are guys that I found that went in or are leaving in some capacity. And I just wanted to update you on it. Wide receiver Assad Wasim is joining John Slaughter at Purdue. So I mentioned this at some point before that I was like, I swear there's somebody going to Purdue that's joining John Slaughter. It's Assad Wasim. Assad Wasim is going to Purdue, which is a cool spot for him. Bishop Thomas, we talked about this before, is heading to Oklahoma, which is so cool. I love that for him. Like coming to CU or, starting at FSU, coming to Colorado, having a little bit of like he was like a main focal point of that Coach Prime documentary in the year 2. And then like, didn't really play that much and like goes down a level to Georgia Southern. Balls out there. If you haven't seen it, like go look up Bishop Thomas on actually you'll find the thread I did where I did track down all the old players. He had a really good season. He played exceptionally well at Georgia Southern and then gets bumped up to the SEC to go play in Oklahoma. It's like such a cool redemption story. And like that's that's one of those like using the portal effectively stories where I'm like that. Yeah. Like if Bishop Thomas wants to go down, get some production and then jump right back up to a higher level, go for it, dude. Like that's great. Walter Taylor, former Buffs quarterback Walter Taylor is heading back to Vanderbilt. So if you remember correctly, so he started at Vanderbilt as a quarterback, came to the Buffs as a quarterback, and then left, went to Ball State as a quarterback, was a backup at Ball State, and then now is going back to Vanderbilt as a tight end. So good for him. Like there, if you look it up, there's a video of him out there, essentially like catching a red zone pass from a guy in a practice, and like he's playing tight end. He's like 6'7". So sure, I mean, good for him. We talked about, somebody mentioned this before, Georgia Tech defense, Tajay McCoy and D-Tech from CU. Yeah, from Toffee Thomas. Yeah, we talked about that before when you're going on the schedule, so that's why I skipped over it. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I've been going for about an hour here, and it's fun being by myself. I miss Manny. Manny will be back next show. We love Manny. But thank you guys for sticking with me and being here on my first solo live show. This is so much fun. And thank you for being here on a Friday and just tapping in with me and being engaged. It makes the show so much easier. Tajay McCoy. Oh, I didn't even realize I had him on the list. Going to Georgia Tech, joining up with a couple other guys. Dylan Edwards is heading to Kansas. So like, I saw a graphic that was like, like the Shaquille O'Neal, like rainbow jerseys thing. Like he's like stacking the jerseys of the Big 12. He's like jumping around the Big 12 a bunch. So Dylan Edwards is heading to Kansas, which if I understand, and I did a little bit of research on this, is the like equivalent of going from CU to CSU. Like that's their version of like, oh geez, like you did the wrong thing here. Like you really are burning bridges. But I hope he gets a chance. Did somebody know, is their quarterback getting another year, or do they have a new quarterback? Because I know he was a senior at some point. Jaden Daniels. Is he getting another year? Can somebody let me know? Because it's a formidable option duo there if you have Dylan Edwards and Jaden Daniels. But I digress. J.J. Hawkins was at Southern Miss, is declaring for the draft, I think. He didn't enter the portal. But he did put out a notice, go to the draft. So I think he's going to the draft. Good for him. Wish him the best of luck. Zach Owens, guard, was at Mississippi State before. He's heading to Mizzou. It was really interesting timing. Like this is not a, we're not going to talk about this. When Jordan Seaton visited Mississippi State, Zach Owens entered the portal like within 6 hours. And so there was a lot of people that were like, oh my gosh, like this is the thing, Jordan's coming to Mississippi State. And then Zach Owens just like goes to Mizzou, and then Jordan Seaton moves on. And it was just like a funny little timing thing. Kason Wiseman was at FAU before, was a backup quarterback for the Buffs, had a really good season. 2 years ago at FAU, he came in, I think in an injury replacement, played really well for them, had some good stats, like 2,000 yards, something like that, 20 touchdowns. Ends up not playing the next year in last season. So hits the transfer portal. Haven't seen any updates on him. Wish him the best of luck. I'm realizing JJ, a couple of these guys are put on there twice. I do apologize for that. Eric Brantley Jr., sorry about it. That's a Friday. I was trying to go really fast making these like last minute, so I do apologize. Eric Brantley Jr., if you guys remember, was a 2023 recruit, I think. Defensive edge. He also went to FAU. Didn't play his freshman season, played really well as a sophomore. And then hits the portal. Haven't heard anything about him. Victory Johnson was one of the two Johnson brothers that had come into CU during that 2023 season. Is Victory and Champion. Champion was the other one. He ended up going to Boise State. Victory went to Cal Poly, played really well, and then hit the portal and haven't heard anything about him. Brandon Hood, if you guys remember, like the last standing Hood brother from that team, went to UMass. Trent Hood, for all of you who, I'm like way too tapped into this stuff, so if I sound crazy, just roll with me. Brandon Hood went to UMass. Trent Hood went to Georgia Military College. And he played at Georgia Military College, so like good for him. He wants to be a D1 bounce back. Brandon Hood went to UMass. I think he had like 20 carries and like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hits the portal again. Haven't heard anything about him. Cordell Russell, that name rings a bell, was like a guy that a lot of Buffs fans were excited about in the wide receiver room. Ends up going to Miami of Ohio, has a kid, I think gets injured, doesn't play last season, and then is back in the portal. So I wish him the best. Like with all of these guys, I'm just telling you because it's like kind of like I'm trying to remember it in real time. We wish them the best. We want them to end up in a place that allows them to thrive. And like you should always want former buffs to do well. It only helps make our program look good. And then Peyton Kirkland, if you remember, was a 4-star offensive tackle from Texas. So Zach Owens had come from Clemson and Peyton Kirkland came from Texas. He went to UAB and then didn't play there. And then now is also back in the portal. Couldn't find anything on him. So, why would these guys leave the G5 schools? I don't know. That's kind of the thing that I like. That's the part where I get a little bit confused. Like an Eric Brantley Jr. Like he really actually performed at FAU. He played really well at FAU. And I think he wanted the like jump to the next level, didn't end up getting it. And that's one of those stories that's like so unfortunate because you have a talented young guy who, produces at a school like a Florida Atlantic, and then he doesn't get the opportunity to jump to the next level. And it's kind of like, now he's a little bit stuck. Does he commit on the same level? Does he go down? Like what happens to Eric Brantley? Brandon Hood, same deal. It's like, where do you go from here? If you can't get out of UMass, where are you going? Where do you want to go? Like, what is the goal there? Cordell Russell, like you would think that some of these guys, like you got to stay after a certain point and just develop and continue to try and, get some production. And like, you can't just keep going and going and going, trying to find a new team. Like you have to get some production after a certain point, regardless. Like, I don't know why they make these decisions. But we hope they end up somewhere that values them and allows them to thrive, in one way or another. Okay, moving on through. Hour and 11 minutes in. Happy Friday. I'm like amped up at this point. I don't know if it's the Celsius that I drank earlier or what, but happy Friday. Oh, Brandon Hood went to Southern Miss. All right, I missed that one. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. If you saw any of these, I try my best to keep tapped in on it, but I can't keep up with everything. Cool. Happy Friday. Happy early weekend. Appreciate you guys being here. We're going to jump in to catching up on some commits, right? So first one first. I keep saying that, and it doesn't even mean anything. First one first came in number 37 commit coming in from the transfer portal, offensive tackle Leon Bell from Cal, 6'8", 330. Not going to give myself credit on this one, but if you had seen the post I put out, that was like top offensive tackle targets. He was number 4, and he followed me right after that. And so I should have known that he was coming to the Buffs. But 6'8", 330-pound offensive tackle, transferred to the University of California after starting his career at Mississippi State and excelling as a top JUCO prospect before that. He started multiple games at Cal at right tackle, using elite length and size to move defenders in the run game and anchor against power rushers, though he showed some inconsistency in protecting the blind side in the Power 4 competition. His game is built on physical traits and toughness and contact. He's now positioned to bring positional versatility and developmental upside to a new program. This is as he was entering the portal that this board came from, as he's entering the portal. So could be a depth piece, has some experience, at the P4 level, played multiple spots across the offensive line, and just a big body. So we'll see. I think he's a grad transfer, so I think he only has 1 year to play. He's played. Don't hold me to eligibility stuff because I don't know. Like you have the guy with the 8th year, and then you have Ezra Christensen getting denied, and then you have like, evidently you can just like sue the NCAA and potentially get a chance. And it's like, I don't know who has what eligibility, but I know he's coming in as a grad transfer. So typically that means 1, but I've seen grad transfers play 2. So we'll see. And that comes with this question. Yeah. It's like, it's so hard to keep up with. It's like, how are we supposed to understand any of this? And I saw, so one of the guys that Tank McBroom was a Colorado target. He's still in the portal, but he had a really good thing that was like, how can you grant a waiver for the guys from last season to get an extra year of eligibility, but then you're just like, everybody after that, like screw off. Like it was like the JUCO ruling, right? It was like just for that 1 year, those guys who played JUCO get an extra year of eligibility. But then the next year, those guys who also played JUCO are screwed. And it's like, if you're going to like set a precedent and create a rule, it's like you might as well stick to it at least. Otherwise, it becomes so inconsistent and there's no precedent to run off. So that's my piece on that. But Leon Bell coming in from Cal, excited about him. Defensive or offensive line depth piece. This comment, now you can redshirt under 9 games. I don't think that was proposed. I don't think that was approved. I'm pretty sure that was a proposal, but it was not officially approved. Next on the list, number 38, defensive tackle, big boy. Somebody else mentioned this earlier, 375, 6'3", and I'm going to butcher it, and I apologize. Samu Tamu Pepe. I'm hoping that is correct. From Baylor, played at Texas A&M. Here's the blurb that I have on him. A massive interior defensive lineman whose game is built on pure strength and size to control the line of scrimmage. Clog running lanes and occupy multiple blockers, traits that project to a nose tackle type of anchor when engaged. Former Texas A&M recruit and a 3-star high school prospect, saw limited action at A&M and Baylor, provides a physically imposing presence up front. His power first style and ability to handle contact make him a fit in run heavy fronts and inside defensive rotations with potential to grow into a more consistent disruptive force. As I'm going through these, I'm going to plug it a million times because I put so much work into it. Go look at the videos on the page. So, right, if you're looking at Colorado Voice of College Football, go look at the standard videos because there's one on the offensive side of the ball and there's one on the defensive side of the ball. And I broke down their PFF grades and just like their rankings and all this stuff. He didn't play very much. He's a really big body. I think he only has like somewhere between 40 and 80 career snaps. He graded pretty well when he was at Texas A&M. Didn't grade all that well when he was at Baylor. But a big body. And like, I should have gotten this. Some people saw it. He was like going back and forth. There was a guy on Twitter that basically had said, because he had flipped from Florida. And there was a guy on Twitter that had said like, oh, kid's not serious about being developed if he's going to Colorado. And he stood 10 toes down and was like, oh, I'm going to be developed by Domata Peko. Like, do you know who that is? Like, Gold Star captain, played 15 years in the league and, is somebody that I looked up to as a kid. Like, you don't think I'm serious about being developed? I'm going to go be coached by the guy that I idolized when I was a kid. And I loved that. I didn't know much about him growing up. But and somebody else mentioned, I'm going to get off track if I keep looking at the comments too much. But it's so great to see when guys are like, hey, like this wasn't like a money flip, right? Like I'm not coming to Colorado over Florida because of money. I'm coming because I like the coaching staff, and I'm coming because this goes back to like people talk about, do we need NFL coaches or do we need college coaches? Like what's more beneficial there? This is a guy that looked at Domata Peko and said, that's somebody that I, molded my game after, and I would be honored to be coached by. And I think that's really cool. That shows that, that NFL experience and the wherewithal to know how to get there is super important to these guys. He basically says here, someone's like, yeah, he loses 30 to 40 pounds, he would be unstoppable. I agree. Like, that's the thing is like, if size was everything, everybody would be 375. Like you don't think that if like you could just be elite at 375, they're like, it was Desmond Watson, is that the Florida guy who went to the Buccaneers, like the 400-pound guy that basically got signed onto the practice squad, and they were like, you got to lose weight before you can play. There is appeal in just having a size like that, but I do think to be agile and to be able to be effective on a defensive front, you have to be a little bit closer to that 325 number, like somewhere in the 20 to 40 pound range. I think that they are bringing him in under the premise of like, hey, we're gonna run you, we're gonna put you at altitude, we're gonna do everything we can to get you. I mean, it was I think it was Sapp. One of the defenses, it was either Sapp or Peko basically told Anquan Barnes that he wasn't going to play at 330. He had to get down closer to 300. Do you think that they didn't have the same conversation with Samu? Like they probably looked and they said like, hey, realistically, if you want to come here and we want you to come here, if you want to be coached by Coach Peko, you're going to have to lose some weight probably and just be a little bit more effective. It was Sapp. Thank you for that, New Breed. They're honest about this stuff. And like they didn't let Barnes play at 330. So I imagine they're not going to say like, 330 was too big, but 375, that's exactly what we want. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Moving on down the list, we got number 39. I'm excited about this one. Cornerback transfer, Paul. Sorry in advance. Amodia, one of those two, coming in from Lamar. I'm so bad with names. 6'2", 198. Blurb that I have on him is a physical, long corner defensive back known for his aggressive style at the line. an ability to disrupt passes with length and instincts, leading the Southland Conference in pass breakups. He emerged as a key boundary defender at the FCS level with strong coverage traits, ball awareness, and willingness to stick receivers early, earning all conference honors before entering the transfer portal for an opportunity at the next level. How big was, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I get the comments here. How big is Block Bully? Block Bully was 5'11", 315. Chidozie Nwankwo. I just want to make sure I get that. Chidozie Nwankwo was 5'11", 290. Okay, so maybe it was a little bit lighter. I thought he was heavier when he came in to see. He might have lost some pounds. Either way, just for the sake of the Sama conversation. Sticking with Paul. Paul graded exceptionally well at Lamar. He is really good size measurables. He's an athlete. He's long. He's got a really long wingspan. He's aggressive. He's not afraid to press receivers on the line. Had a good amount of PBUs, as it alluded to. He's really strong at the FCS level. I think this is a guy that, like, how do I want to phrase this? Think Tayon Parks, but like more rounded out. Like think Tayon Parks, but like more sound in his actual skills, like more rounded out in his skills, a little bit more physically built out, not afraid to get in the face of guys. And I think comes in with a little bit more direct experience to be able to play at this level. So not sure if he's going to be I could be completely wrong and he could just not end up being a rotation guy at all. But if you look at the film, this is a guy that at the level he was playing at proved that he was too good for it. And his grades were like 89.3 overall, 90 in coverage. Like it was really good. So obviously doesn't mean everything, but a guy that definitely helps with the depth of the cornerback room, which I feel pretty good about overall. Awesome. Number 40, we've got Richard Young coming in from Alabama, running back, 5'11", 212. Where I have on him is a powerful downhill style running back who came in as a highly ranked 4-star elite recruit out of Lehigh Acres, Florida, with a blend of strength, burst, and contact balance that drew major P4 attention. At Alabama, he showed physical, straight ahead running ability and the knack to serve as an early down grinder and short yardage threat. Though yet he's yet to fully break out in a crowded backfield, he entered the transfer portal to seek a larger role. So one of the things that we had talked about, and again, I miss Manny. Manny was one of the biggest. We're not saying like miss him like long term. He's just not here today. But Manny was one of the he was pounding his fist about getting another running back in the room that has that high upside, right? So like a guy that maybe came in as a high-level recruit out of high school and just didn't have a chance to really perform super well at their current stop. So like Richard Young, I think fits that mold really well. Had a couple of explosive plays for Alabama, but just stuck in that ever-revolving door lineage of high-end Alabama running backs. I think this is like, it reminds you a little bit of Dallin Hayden, like a guy that had a lot of potential at his prior stop at a bigger school and like wants an opportunity to get a chance here. My main thing about him, he had a really good run blocking grade. So this could be a guy in the go-go that you stick alongside of DeKalen Taylor, alongside of Micah Welch, and is like a really good run blocker, right? Like 5'11", 212, he's big body in the running back room. Short, stout, not afraid to hit someone. So I like this pickup. I like Richard Young I don't want to say round out the running back room, but like definitely bolster it a little bit further. Okay, I got to remove one of these graphics because it only lets me put up X amount at a certain time. Cool, there's the next one. Number 41, cornerback. This one was a surprise. Last three were a surprise, actually. I had a good sense about Paul Omodia. But Richard Young, Jason Stokes, these two were guys that I had no clue about. I didn't even know they were on CU's radar. Coming in from Utah, 6'2", 184. A long, athletic, young cornerback who came to the University of Utah as a 3-star out of Texas and saw action in 12 games as a true freshman. Primarily on special teams while getting limited defensive snaps and a PBU on the back end. Built on length, range and physical traits from a solid high school track and coverage background, showing the kind of developmental upside that coaches look for in an outside corner role before entering the transfer portal looking for a bigger opportunity. So back-to-back guys, 6'2", 185 and above ish. We know how Coach Prime feels about longer corners, bigger corners. A young guy, didn't get a big opportunity at Utah, but like played at Utah in his freshman season regardless, which is a good sign. Has good traits, has good physical skills, a little bit undervalued in high school, not like a huge 4 or 5 star recruit, but a guy that's going to come in and wants an opportunity, is going to compete. And I'm just kind of excited about to add depth to that room overall. All right. Next one on the list, Ja Boyd, otherwise known as Jaja Boyd. I put this out, and I'm going to say this because this is a Friday. We've got Jaja, Yaya, Juju, and Jojo all on one team that also runs the Go-Go. That is my Friday poem for you guys. Number 42, Jaja Boyd. Coming in from Indiana, 5'11", 188. Anybody that comes in from Indiana, I am all good for. I hope we get that D tackle that they put into the portal too. But a tough, instinctive defensive back who's played sparingly for the Hoosiers. He earned defensive snaps again as a true freshman, and contributed on special teams. As a redshirt freshman. A versatile DB who has good play rec and competitiveness in run support and coverage. He showed the ability to make impactful plays like forcing a fumble despite limited defensive reps before entering the transfer portal. Jaja Boyd also graded exceptionally well in limited minutes. Like I'm talking like stupidly well for the amount of snaps that he played, like 90-ish overall, and then like a 92 in coverage. I don't remember the exact. Go watch the video that I put up. I keep plugging it all day. Just crazy snaps in his, or crazy PFF grades in his limited snaps. So a guy that I feel very good about. It's cool to see them taken. I listed it as 173, but evidently I think when I looked at it on ESPN, like his ESPN and his Indiana profile, I think are different in weights. I also found 188. So might be closer to 188, 5'11", 188. We've heard different things about Coach Prime's, requirements for measurables on corners, but this is a guy that seems to have a lot of high upside and is going to make a difference in the secondary, and coming in from Indiana. So, he's well coached, he's disciplined, and he's got experience playing in high level games. So that's what I'll say on that one. Whew. Okay. Coming up on an hour and a half here. Let's get to, we'll say the most interesting one of the day. I'm trying to bury the lead here. It's a 4-star coming in from Ohio State. I can't even help but laugh. This one, you guys all saw it with me. You guys all were just as confused with me. Javon McFadden is a Colorado Buffalo. 6'3", 295, coming in from Ohio State. A young, versatile interior offensive lineman. Who am I kidding? This is Jordan Seaton's cousin, if you guys didn't already know. Javon McFadden. Actually, let me read the blurb, and then we'll get into the tea with this, quote unquote. A young, versatile interior offensive lineman who came to Ohio State as a 4-star recruit from Riverdale Baptist in Maryland. From Maryland, of course, bringing prototypical strength, length, and aggressive run blocking traits while playing both guard and tackle in high school. Uses strong hands, physicality, and quick feet to climb to the second level and sustain blocks. Who is projecting as a swing O-lineman capable of playing multiple spots in the Buckeyes front. Limited snaps as a true freshman, got a little bit of development, entered the transfer portal looking for a little bit more of a role within a P4 offensive line. So if you guys haven't kept up with this, John McFadden is Jordan Seaton's cousin. Is he short and underweight for the position? I don't think so. I mean, 6'3", 295, like technically as a guard, that's probably a little bit light, but he also played some tackle in high school. And so like, we don't know where he's going to play yet. He could have put on a couple of sides. That's just what's listed. And so it's like, you don't always know if I think typically they run measurables at the beginning of the season. So like he might've come in from high school at 295 and then might be 305 by now. And they just haven't ran him yet. Like we'll see when they put him on the roster. Jordan Seaton's cousin. It's interesting because like you have this whole dynamic where he comes into the portal, and Jordan Seaton says like, "You want to play together." The weird part about that, and I've held this back for a while until now, is the snake emoji that came with it. Like I always in the moment I was like, that's kind of weird. Like it's a weird emoji to choose. Like, is he calling him a snake? Is he calling him because he didn't come to see you to begin with? Like what was that about? And then Jordan enters the portal, and then it was like, oh, and then Javon puts the eyeballs over Jordan's portal announcement. So then it was like, oh, this whole thing was about them going somewhere else to go play together. And then Javon comes to Colorado, and it's like, what? Like, here's the thing. I'm not, this is not me like, welcome to Javon. I'm happy. This is a former 4-star coming in on a defensive line. I'm not complaining by any capacity. I was just so confused because this is not one that I was expecting to come to the Buffs. And it's good. A guy that has, comes from a family that clearly produces football talent and was at Ohio State. So he had early stage development as a freshman. Like I'm happy. I just am confused. But I think at the end of the day, like what I've settled on with it is, and a couple of people have said it too, is I don't think that the like relationship there is like, I think it was always a running joke with them. That was kind of like, maybe that's what the snake emoji was to begin with, was Jordan being like, oh, you snaked me the first time, right? Like I wanted you to come to see you, and like, hey, you want to try again, you snake? I have no idea. This is all just me making a giant speculation here. But he comes to see you anyway, gets on board. He's in the program now. We welcome him with open arms. And I think he's going to be somebody that, again, he could end up playing tackle for the Buffs. He could be a guard. Who knows? But highly touted coming out of high school. And it's just he is a guy. He finishes block. He finishes his blocks. He's a nasty offensive lineman. All right. Last two things on the board here, and then we're going to check out. I'll say it one more time. Thank you guys. This was a solo show, my first solo show today. Let me know how I did. Let me know if you just hate this and you wish Manny came back. But I appreciate you guys being here on this cold and chilly Friday in Denver, Colorado. Let's round it out with some happy news here. We talked about it last time. We shared the stats. Cam Newton, not that Cam Newton, is a Colorado Buffalo. Cam Newton coming out of Prosper, Texas. If you haven't seen his stats and his grades yet, or not his grades, not his grades, his stats yet, had like 90 touchdowns in high school and like 5,000 yards, like 6,000 yards as a running back in Texas and 5A Texas football. So a guy that's coming in from the 2026 class. One of the things, and you're welcome to tell me if you guys disagree with me on this, but like, there's something about the early signing day that like once that passes, I always kind of forget that there's just like other 2026 kids that are just going to be signing and committing to the Buffs. So when I saw Cam Newton, I was like, oh, like something must have happened that he didn't sign. But then I just realized I was like, oh, the actual signing day hasn't even happened yet. But Cam Newton, a guy that clearly undervalued by the rest of the college football landscape, highly productive in Texas, is going to come in and just is just going to be a baller. He is 5'9", 185, 673 career rushes and 5,022 total yards. Senior year, he had 310 attempts and 2,400 yards, 44 total touchdowns, and 41 of those were rushing. Reason for no other P4 offers is the size and lack of speed for the size. Runs a 4.58 to 4.6. They are 5A-2, which means enrollment is smaller than a 5A D1 school. That's Manny's blurb. I feel so bad. Manny really wanted to talk about Cam Newton. We're going to let him get his chance next week on the live show. But Cam Newton, great name, very productive, and a guy that I think is going to come in and challenge for some reps in the running back room. But he's not the only guy. That's the funny thing, is following him came Cody Jordan. And this one seemingly came out of nowhere too. Cody Jordan coming in from the Woodlands, Texas. He is 5'9", 185. His stats on Max Preps, it was like only 5 games worth. They weren't like, it wasn't Cam Newton 5,000 yards, but a guy that was productive in Texas. He also plays basketball. 5'10", 185. his picture on 247 is of him in a basketball uniform, but he's coming to the Buffs as a football player. Maybe he'll walk onto the basketball team. Who knows? But exciting here. 2 young pieces joining the running back room. You know, they add one from the transfer portal. They also add one, or they add 2 from high school. So now I think we're up to 8, I think, in total. So you've got Micah DeKalen, Richard Young. You have the 2 running backs from Sac State. You have Price left, and then these 2 guys. So that's 7. Am I missing one? Can somebody let me know if I'm missing one from last year's roster? Either way, 7 or 8 running backs at this point. Some young guys, some experienced. So we'll see how that room shakes out. And that is actually all I've got for you guys. We ran an hour and a half on a solo show on a Friday. Thank you guys for being here. This is awesome. This is so much fun. Let me read through the comments. I don't know if I said this at the very beginning. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl? Who do you guys got? Who do you guys got in these wonderful, exciting games? As you guys know, I'll stick with it on my own personal story here, as I'm kind of new to the show overall. But I'm a kid who grew up in New England, so technically by nature I'm a Pats fan. But I'm here in Denver. Went to school at Boulder. I'm a Boulder alumni. So I've got some Broncos in me. Not enough to spend $700 to get into the nosebleeds. I'm not close enough on either side. I bleed Buffs. So like, if the Buffs are going to the national championship, I'm pulling it out of the savings. But you know, NFL and sticking with one of these teams, it just wasn't my thing. So let me know who you guys have got in the winning both matchups. On the other side, you got Rams and Seahawks. It's gonna be good games. It's gonna be good games. I'm a Drake May fan. I'm a Bo Nix fan. You know, wishing the best for him. That's a terrible injury and a sad way to go out. But I mean, here's my prediction, right? And I've said this to a couple of people. I think Broncos are going to come out firing. My prediction is that they're going to set up a string of plays for Stiddy to get comfortable. He's going to have the crowd behind him. I think they go up early. I think that they maybe take like a 10-0 lead. Patriots are a slow, grinded out type of team. They are a second half squad. I see them coming back, stringing together 3 or 4 good drives. I think this is a 21-17 ball game. Something like that, maybe a 21-20 type of ball game. It's going to be really close. I think it comes down to the wire, but I think I don't even want to give the prediction. I'm not going to tell you who I think wins it, because I don't want people hating me for it, but it's going to be a good one nonetheless. I might lean Patriots. I don't know. Don't hate me on that. We'll see. I haven't watched enough Stiddy. I'm in Stiddy City. I'm riding with Stiddy City, so don't hate me on that one. But I did grow up a Pats fan, so I might have to roots with my Pats on that one. And then on the other side, I'm gonna take Seahawks. I don't know enough about that matchup to really like definitively say whether or not there's a specific schematic difference there, but cool on that one. So I think it's going to be Patriots, Seahawks. That's my guess. But if it ends up being Broncos, Rams, you guys can clown me all you want. Just go right ahead. Let me see if there is any major comments that I missed here. Otherwise, I'll let you guys go. Happy Friday to you all. Let's go Buffs. Appreciate you guys sticking with me. I'll plug it one last final time. Go watch the videos on the page. It means so much to me. It means so much to the channel. It helps out so much too with just allowing us to continue to do this type of stuff. We recently were able to start monetization with the channel, so that you might see an ad if you want to watch it or if you want to skip it. It's not up to me. But it just helps us with being able to continue to do these types of things and support you guys in your coverage for the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm going to log off here. Otherwise, my girlfriend will probably kill me for going more than an hour and a half. But appreciate you guys. Happy Friday. Have a great, safe, and healthy weekend. Don't do anything dumb. Be good Buffs in the community. We'll have Manny back next week. We miss him dearly. And go Buffs, baby. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night. Thanks. Let me boop there.